Workers should be able to deduct expenses from their income. Corporations are taxed on net profit, not gross income. Yet workers are taxed on gross income. A corporation needs to spend money to upkeep the equipment that makes them money. Workers need to spend money to upkeep themselves, which is the equipment that makes their business money, their business being their labor. There is no separate category for corporations of essential expenses and personal spending. Everything is deemed to be business-related. Workers, likewise, have no reason not to include almost everything they do as part of personal care and upkeep. From the food they eat, to their heating bill, to recreation and relaxation, it can all be justified on some level as part of investing in themselves as their business. Corporations can throw lavish parties for their executives and send them to tropical islands for business events, and write it off as an expense. But when an employee wants to take a vacation somewhere nice to recharge, it is not justified as an expense that is necessary to keep them functioning well as a worker. Anyone who thinks it would be unfair for workers to be able to write off everything they spend as an expense, calling it unfair, nonsensical, and would prevent the government from collecting sufficient taxes, has only proven that it is nonsense when you allow corporations to operate under those rules. When I was a kid, I often went to my parents' and cousins' parents' workplaces to visit. These all had a common lunchroom where there was a proper kitchen and a lunch lady made food for the employees. The employees could buy lunch at cost, i.e., what it actually cost to make the lunch. So a proper lunch was made $2 or so. This saved my parents a lot of money as they didn't need to go out and buy lunch at a restaurant for $6 a pop. This basically does not exist anymore. The only place I know of that still has it is IKEA. And the employees don't buy the lunch at cost but just with a rebate. I just mention this as a big portion of my paycheck used to go just towards lunches and an equally big part to travel from home to work. Like at least a quarter of it. It always felt like a complete waste to actually pay to work. The one thing that bothers me is I get a mileage reimbursement, but it doesn't seem like much. But I have to keep a good reliable car for work, on my dime for the most part. Contractors and self-employed get to write off so much a year on a vehicle. Not sure if it's more or less than mileage reimbursement. Curious what others think. Kinda what the standard deduction is in a sense, even if it's not the optimal value. In the US, workers should vote for people who will pass this. That kind of exists. It's called the standard deduction. Perhaps the problem lies in the obvious tax loophole and the solution is the opposite of what you think. Totally agree. We should be taxing wealth, not income, to such a high degree. The money should be cycling through the economy, not being hoarded, to get the meritocracy conservatives want so bad. Let's take a bite out of generational wealth. Before you say, Nana saved for 50 years for that nest egg, think of what Nana could have saved if she got to keep more each month. Before you say, but I worked hard for my slice of the pie, we are not talking average folks with even 510 million of assets when they retire. It's easy to protect assets up to certain reasonable level. We are taking the ultra-rich here with hundreds of millions or billions. If companies were stopped to be able to write off the array of elements they do today, we'd fix housing, student loans and a good chunk of healthcare practically overnight. Damn, you're mean. You didn't comprehend. What a dick way of conveying we misunderstood. Your wording implies we're stupid for a misread or misinterpretation of your meaning. Anyway, that, too, used to be allowed in the USA to a point. Automobile licensing could be deducted from the federal taxes. schooling, for parents and children, house payments. Now only a portion, only if working from home over a certain amount of hours per month. Some hobbies were deductible oddly. Kids could be deducted after the first and only a small percentage. And way back when state taxes could be deducted in full. Ended for the same reasons I listed for my other answer.
Better?
So like Reverse Citizens United? I really dig it. Whatever rules, tricks, loopholes that are available to corporations and banks should be available to every person. If you start treating people like corporations, you then also concede that corporations are people. And I fundamentally disagree with that. You should cross-post it to our libertarian. As a matter of fact, this is a long-standing libertarian thesis. That's why we need more employees in the government and not business owners. I think working people should be able to deduct office attire, work clothes, gas or other travel expenses for commuting to the office, lunch, childcare, etc. Anything that is directly associated with the need to work. We're sacrificing our income to contribute to the employer, shareholder profits. And we're the ones who don't get any tax benefits for it. I mean, under this schema we might as well just do away with person income taxes and instead charge those taxes to corporations. That seems like the more efficient approach to this issue. Otherwise the IRS is going to need a bigger budget to deal with all the additional deductions. You can do this if you choose to work as a 1099 contractor. There are pros and cons to it. You are making sense, and that's not allowed when it comes to government. Government sees an individual as $signs QND, that's all. Especially in Canada where I am. Taxes are an easy way to pay the bureaucracy, and that's all anyone cares about. Cool concept. Also, social programs that help people are bad, yet social programs, bailouts, are good for companies. So socialism is okay for corporations but bad for people. There is a lot more to it, and that a different conversation. But in its simplest terms it makes sense. That is what the standard deduction is supposed to be. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doomscrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.